Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to assemble my dual stage planetary gearbox. If you made this yourself or you want to make this yourself, there's a link down below. If you want to see testing of this gearbox or me talking about it more, there's a link down below to my main channel video. Okay, so let me just talk about some of these pieces. So I'm just going to move this all to the side right now of everything you need. So here are the first stage planetary gears. These ones do have a pin on top. I'll talk about how to what they're for a little later. So you need 4 of these. They can all be pinched at once. You need 4 of the second stage planetary gears. These ones go on top. I'll show you how to assemble that later. But you also need 4 of these. These can also be put on top. One thing I do want to say about every single print, you do not need support materials to print everything, to print anything. So everything is designed to be printed flat on a bed. You may have to change some angles to do that. So after that, let's just move on with the gears, I guess. So we got the first stage sun. Now this does have a keyhole for one of these motors. I'll talk about that one sec. But if you want to use a different motor, you can always import this. On Thingiverse, I'll tell you what size gear this is, so you can reprint your own with whatever motor shaft you want. So same with the second stage sun gear. Pretty simple, just has a hole in it. This hole really does nothing. So after that, we got the first stage ring. Just want to go through these a little bit more faster. We got the second stage ring. I also call this my output shaft. We got an output spacer. We got the mount. We got 4 standoffs. And our last print is just the motor mount. So again, if you want to use a different motor, you don't want to print this out. These holes, I'll put in the link description of what these holes are, so you can make your own motor mount. And for this project, I'm just using one of these small yellow hobby motors. It runs around 6 volts, half an amp, I think, at full load. The output shaft runs about 90 RPM. And then for some other things we need 2 types of screws. Now, these screws are 1/8. If you're in a metric country or you can't find 1/8 screws, I think these are 3mm around, the closest size you can. None of the holes are tapped, so any screw can really work. But there's 2 different types. There's a rounded head and a countersunk head. And then you also need about, so you need 8 of them, so 4 round and 4 counter. And then you just need some washers and the screws the nuts that fit on the screws. So after that, let's start assembling the gearbox. Okay, so to start assembling the gearbox, it has to be pretty accurate how everything gets aligned. I'll walk you through every step that you need to do to get the best outcome. Okay, so our first step is going to be to hook up the motor mount to the input ring. So what you want to do is grab one of these hobby motors. You're going to slide it into the motor mount. Now it's just a loose fit. The motor actually doesn't get mounted to the gearbox. It kind of just gets held on to by this gear. It's not the best design, but this is more of a test design. I made this. Then what you're going to do is just take this gear, the sun gear, and you're going to slide it on the shaft. And that's really step 1. And to make it a little bit more easier, what I like to do is just temporarily take 2 screws, pass it through the ring gear, the input ring, and the mount, and just screw them on just temporarily. Okay, so our next step is going to involve the first stage planetary gears. We're going to attach it to our gearbox. So what you want to do is you want to look at your gearbox, your input ring, and there are two types of teeth. So under one of these holes, there should be a tooth lined up, and same on the opposite side, but on the 90 degrees from the hole we want, there is no tooth there. You see how the teeth doesn't line up with the hole. So you want to take the tooth that lines up with the hole, you want to face it away from you. And then you're going to take the sun gear and you're going to turn it so one of the tooth faces up, like this. Okay, so then I want to set this to the side one sec. It shouldn't shift since I got the bolts in. And then on one of these planetary gears, you see that I created a very convenient arrow right there. So what you want to do is you want to take the gearbox. I got my tooth facing up on my sun gear and a tooth facing down. So then I'm going to take this arrow and point it straight up. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my other gears. I'm going to point the arrow in the same direction. I'm just going to put it right below it. Just like that. And then the two other planetary gears can put 9 degrees. Same thing, arrows points up. You may have to shift some things. It's a little tight if your prints are slightly inaccurate, but that looks good. And last one. Let me just check. Yep, and that's what it should look like at the very end. Okay, so the next two steps are quite simple and pretty straightforward. You're going to need your second stage planetary gears and your second stage sun. So all you have to do is you're going to take each planetary gear and you're going to stack it on top of the first stage planetary gear. And they may be tight depending on how your printer is, but they should fit in pretty accurately. And again, all the arrows are facing up. And then the sun gear fits just in the middle, like that. So that was actually the hardest part. Now we can get on to the easier sections. So our next step is pretty simple. Actually, we don't need this part anymore, so I'm just going to set that off to the side here. So our next thing we're going to need is the output shaft. We're going to need an output spacer. And then we also need the 4 countersunk screws. We need 4 nuts and the 4 washers. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to line the output spacer over the output shaft, or the output ring, essentially it is. Then you're going to pass your screws through that, all 4 of them. Now, these screws are going to be the thing you mount your physical output to. If that's a wheel or if that's a robot actuator, doesn't matter. These screws is what you're going to get mounted to it. So you're going to put washers on those, all 4 of them. And then you just use a nut to tighten those up. Okay, so next you're going to take the output holder and you're just going to slide this on top. Just like that. And then you're going to take your motor mount and input gear and take the screws off. And then what you're going to do is take your output shaft and you're just going to lay this on top, and if everything went correctly, it should just lay on top easily. Yep, and it should feel like it's centered on both ring gears. So this gearbox is designed to be attached to a piece of this is a piece of MDF. If I can find my calipers, I can tell you how thick it is. So it's 5.8 millimeters or 1564. So that's how thick it is. So how this gets mounted is you take the motor shaft, you're going to pass it through. You want to take your output your upper holder. And then you're going to take these screws, you're going to pass it through. Then you're also going to pass it through one of these spacers. Now these spacers are kind of a cone shape, so they're thick on one side and smaller on the top. So the bigger side gets pushed against the wood. This is a little tricky to do on camera, and it's going to take some finagling. But eventually, if I can get it, just have some patience with this one. Okay, so when that's screwed all the way through, a nut cuts on top, and you can tighten it down. And you can do it for the other three. Okay, there we go, and that's the motor mount. The motor is loose. I might just tape it on. This is just this was designed to be a test rig, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah, so if you guys ever make this, I would love to see how yours turned out. If you could just leave a thing of us, like if you made it, leave a make, show some videos. I'd love to see how it turned out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, guys. I do really appreciate it. Consider subscribing. I'm trying to get as much as I can. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.